Asi inside me, ndandine reason for the seed. Seed yangu yanga iri uplifting of that family iri kuRuzevha. Kuti maybe hanzvadzi yangu ikawanawo something tinobatsirana. But at the same time, ndandine mwana weuye mukomana akanyora form 6. Anga asina chekuita mari yanga isikatobatani prophetess. Mache ndichida kuedza kustretchera zvasingafambi. Ndobva ndanosida. Saka ndakapinda mu holy place paper. Maybe that was my prayer inside my heart. I was praying for the uplift of my brother. At the same time, praying for the scholarship of my son.
And the scholarship for my son.
Holy place.
I then entered the special
Prophet,
place.
as I said,
Prophet,
you
as I
used to touch
said
my head.
previously, you
Praying
used to
for
touch
me.
my head.
Sometimes I once came to the guest house. You prayed for me. But that day, the wave was too much. I don't know what happened, but what I remember, I just wake up ndiri mudaga.
After you prayed for me, I don't remember what really happened. I just remember opening my eyes and I was falling in the special place. I just started removing the sand from my clothes.
In the holy place.
The sand that I didn't. I then left and went back home. I have a program that I'm doing for mental health. There are other people I learn with.
Ndava prayer mountain man ndadzokera kuchikoro weekend block munhu iye akangonda approach from nowhere iwe bia you once told me about your son.
After leaving the prayer mountain, one of the students that I learned with
tell us about your family and munongopa my explanations. I have 3 kids ndine chichichi uchingotsanangura saka mini kuti anga amngozvinzwawo pakutsanangura but all along she was just quiet anga akangonyarara.
She had heard about my family from just general talk in the classes. She then said, you once spoke about your son. What did you say is the issue with your son? Then I said, he's just at
home. I have a son in Indonesia.
And then she said, I have a son in Indonesia who can connect him. This was after being prayed for at a special place.
Listen to me. Before she continues, before the evangelist continues, imagine she's learning with this person, possessed, and nothing is being noticed, nothing is being said about, because she's still possessed. But after the deliverance, after seeding, a person who was close to her all the time is now approaching her with good news.
Zvadaro prophet.
Yes.
Akabva nditi ndimupe nhamba dzemwana kuti ape mwana wake.
After all that, prophet then asked for my son's phone number so that she could give her son. And again, the evil attack started again.
4 to 5 months. Munhu uya ari quiet.
4 to 5 months, the lady was quiet.
Then makabva mati imimi, there is an all-night prayer on 2 December for partners at the prayer mountain.
You then called for a prayer mountain partners service.
When I reached that
all-night prayer.
Panakashika prayer mountain. Kwakuma AM makabva ma-announce futhi nyaya yekuti if you have your seat, give your seat and pass through the special place.
In the early hours of the morning, you then gave another announcement that if you have a seat, you can come through to be prayed for at the all-night prayer. My prayer request was still the same. May my son be recognized and remembered again. But I had not forgotten about my brother back at the rural areas. You then prayed for us in the special place, and I manifested and was delivered again because the evil attacks had come back again.
You can go. You can sleep here.
You then said if you are done being prayed for, you're free to go home. But others, you can sleep here if you'd like to go later on. While at the prayer mountain, remember you had said that we can sleep at the prayer mountain. I then called my
Okay,
brother back at the rural areas, as you know what we all do when we're in church, and I told him that we're in church.
past 7.
I woke up a little bit late.
Mwe brother wanoshanda panapa anonzi mukoma Isaac. Ndobva vati vana mama makuenda. Vanotomuti makuda kuti tikubatsirei nei. After that prayer, all night prayer, machairs ese akasara kuprayer mountain. Vanhu vakangobuda vakaenda. Ndobva vati ndaida kubatsira kutakura machair kuenda kuchechi.
A brother then approached us after we had woken up and asked for our assistance to carry chairs that had been left at the prayer mountain and that needed to come back to church. We are seated with dismantling the stage and loading the chairs to come to church.
Nevamwe 3 mamothers ekuhurungwe nehwano ekugweru.
It was the 5 of us with 3 other ladies from Hurungwe and 1 from Gweru. We were waiting for the truck to come back so that we could continue loading the chairs. Tell your neighbor the local ones from Harare had already left, including the leaders.
Saka dzakuma 2:06 kwakatotaka kutosvibirira takagara. Then prophet ipapo paprayer ipapo yeFriday makadeclare mukati kana zita rako risipo vanhu havasati vakwana. Kana zita rako risiko kuBorodeo dzimba dzekuBorodeo asati dzapera kuvakwa.
Prophet, I then remembered that you had made a declaration during the all-night prayer that if your name is not written where it should be written, then the names are not yet enough. I then started to meditate. This was at 6 p.m. in the evening. I started meditating that if my son's name is not yet in Indonesia, then the names are not yet enough. If my brother's name is not yet at a workplace, then it's not yet enough.
My Jesus.
6 Saturday.
Around 6 p.m. in the evening, I got a call from my brother back at the rural areas telling me that I've been called back at work and to start on Monday. I was so happy, man of God. I was so happy, prophet. We even got more strength to continue carrying these chairs until 3 a.m. in the morning. Are you here? Ask your neighbor, are you here? Continue preaching, evangelist. On those times, construction had already started. Satellites had already been tasked the days they would come here to assist. So I took an off day so that I could join one of the satellites. I came to assist here at church. We were left with 25 days for the year crossover to enter into 2023. We then came for crossover. You then said, go back to the prayer mountain again.
I will come for a service. Then you said again, you sit and I will pray for you. Doba mapa a special instruction. Mukati, nyorai ma prayer request enyu accordingly, muchizika. Inenge yaitika, unoitika.
You then said, write down your prayer requests and what would have come to pass, you tick it or check to say that it is done. I wrote at the prayer mountain, and you had already declared a new theme of upgrade. My first prayer request was written,
Upgrading of my brother Luke. That's the name of my brother.
upgrading of my brother Luke.
Second yacho yanga iri scholarship yemwana wangu yo.
The second one was for my son's scholarship.
Ndichiri ipapo.
I was still on that issue.
Ndobva ndanosi anga akawanda prophet. My prayer request andosvika hope kuzazi.
I had a lot of prayer requests,
My first priority.
but those were my priority.
Ndobva ndanosida. Vamati munosiya ma prayer request enyu mu basket.
I then seeded and left my prayer request at the prayer mountain.
Ndobva ma-announce kuti kubva musi wa3 kusvika musi wa5 taizofasta.
You then said from the 3rd to the 5th we were to fast and pray.
My brother called me.
On the 4th, while in Mutora Shanga,
nursing on the 17th of January.
my brother was called to tell me that he had been approved to start nursing.
Kutaura kuno prophet hanzvadzi yangu yatova mu block 5 renursing kune vanoziva zvechinesi.
What on block 5?
As I speak right now, my brother is in block 5 of nursing.
Hallelujah.
Poverty yabva yatanga kutodzikira. Because akutohora ko.
Poverty started to go down as he was now getting a salary. And now able to get a grocery for my mother back at home.
Mugurova evangelist, Mugurova.
Keep preaching, evangelist.
Musi wa5.
This happened on the 4th of January.
Ngatingoti the following day. My son was here in Harare ndandiri kubasa.
On the 5th of January, my son was here in Harare and I was at work.
Me today in this scholarship group.
And he called to say, I have been linked into that scholarship group.
Scholarship yako yaFrika.
Yabva yaFrika.
And that scholarship was opened. And it was opened for good. Tell your neighbor that it was opened for good.
Saka zvadaro ndobva mwana ato apply akantanga atone link ndobva ato apply.
My son then applied for the scholarship.
Musi wacho ndakati nyaya kuti aitoshanda kunoku.
We were working here.
Sunday yachona mune maida kuzoenda kuBotswana here.
Service,
yes, Botswana service. Asi muchizodzoka futi the following Sunday muchizodzoka Saturday. Saka tatiri panapa indakauya Sunday nditi ndakatosvika the whole ndiri panapa.
To conclude.
Musi weTuesday.
Tuesday, he was called to the embassy for an interview. For Indonesia. He was called to the Indonesian embassy. His interview was booked for 2 p.m.
Handiti susu tangojera kuti kumainterview mukadezwa mune makazara makasviba muchida kuita competition.
Muchida kushugisa kupinda panzvimbo.
Kupinda panzvimbo. Anaye ndati interview ipiyo iyi.
When he got there, the gate was closed and he was surprised because we were normally used to interviews where there are a lot of people.
The coordinator akabva amufonera. Are you ready for the interviews? Ndobva I am just at the gate. Anyway, in 30 minutes.
We're just waiting for 2 people to arrive so that we can all get into the boardroom. So we'll do the interview in 30 minutes.
Indonesian embassy. Hanzi ndakapinda magara varume 5. The white guys.
White
he says
the 5 white guys. You can sit there. The other 2 are not yet. Avasati vasvika. Andobva ndagara pepe. Iyo kangati andandakatasira kuti sezvo pari kuuya the other vanhu 2 obviously pachauya nainterpreter. Hanzi surprise yangu ndakabva ndaona pachipinda futi vamwe 2 varume.
He says that the interview had 5 white men waiting for him. He was expecting an interpreter, only to have 2 other people who were being waited for, being males who were white as well. His interview was also live on Zoom.
Nevarungu avari 7. Iye ari wechi8. Munhu mutema ari 1.
He was the only black man in this interview, with 7 other white men, and him being the only one black man. At that point, he had his wristband on, a red wristband. written upgrade.
Evangelist Varugurova.
The evangelist is preaching.
atoita mainterviews aya but ndofunga zvaakabvunzwa zvakamuconfuse handizivi akabva andifonera tichitakura congregate apo tichiisa zvezve tichitakura apo tichiisa uko vanditi moms mhene kuchechi kwenyu kwamuri ikoko zvobuda here because zvandabvunzwa kunoko handifungi.
He left the interview confused, not confident, and he called his mother, who was working at church at the construction site, and his mom assured him it was going to be okay.
Ipapo zvanga zvakufamba neimwe supernatural speed.
Everything started to move with supernatural speed. This is March when he had his interviews.
You were approved for a Damasiswa scholarship in Indonesia.
An email came through saying that he had been approved for his scholarship in Indonesia. Explain the scholarship he got.
Vanga vachidiwa vari 350 worldwide.
They were taking 350 children around the world for that scholarship.
David was one of the selected guys in Zimbabwe. Akaenda ari one Zimbabwe yes.
David was the only Zimbabwean who was picked and approved for this scholarship. In the whole of Zimbabwe.
Saka akabva selectwa ari one. Ndobva asi scholarship yangoti approved ka. Atinoziva kuti iri full sponsored here, iri half here. Makabva mabva mato introduce touch of grace. Makabva maparidza about grace pana. Mamati zvoni chero katengesa ka 15.
Evangelist Varugurova.
Chero katengesa ka 15. Usina kusida about that business rinowa chete.
You then introduced the touch of grace, and you spoke about seeding towards whatever business that you are doing. You taught us about why would you start a business without asking your father first. Even if you sell 15 times, that business cannot succeed unless you give a seed towards it. I was a part of that service and I seeded.
Grace over my sons. Azvinambotorera a week. Mwana akabva fonerwa. Vanenge vane ma-coordinators. Zvikanzi scholarship yako iri fully covered.
My seed was towards my children, my sons that is.
Problem
and a week later,
fully covered.
a week later they called telling us that it was a full scholarship.
But do you understand what she's saying?
Do you understand what the scholarship was about?
School fees inobhadharwa neIndonesia.
Yes.
Yes. Chikafu chaanodya ari ikoko chinobhadharwa neIndonesia. Dzimba dzavanogara dzinobhadharwa ikoko. Changu chandaifanira kungoita kutsvaga tiketi rekuenda. Regore racho dzoka vanomupa kubva ikoko. Saka zvadaro prophet. Grace dziya dzakabva dzatomuloketa. Because zvatovarika zvatovarwa izvo.
Surely the grace located him. All I had to look for was money for the tickets. And I came on the 20th of August. And you spoke about why would you travel without asking your father first. I then gave a seed towards my son's journey for him to get journey mercies.
He is blessed. Let him go.
I placed my seed, you prayed for him, and you looked at me and you said these specific words, Mama, he is blessed, let him go. The time that you prayed for him, he went into a spiritual sleep.
I declare good friends.
He then said, this man Really? The moment that he prayed for me, I got into a deep sleep, and I only woke when he was saying he declares good friends.
The word is like a seed. Randanzwa iroro rekuti good friends. Ndoravatosida mandiri.
And then he was happy about receiving a word
Musi
of
wa
receiving the
28
good
mwana
friends.
akaenda prophet akakwira pandege akaenda takamuperekedza kuairport. Prophet anambokudzai mhepo dzedzi. Ini ndakambobvira ndakasvika panonzi paRobert International Airport. Ndakapasvika musi wa 28 August.
I went to the Robert Mugabe International Airport for the first time on the 20th of August 2023 when my son was leaving for Indonesia. When everything is free, you can fly.
Akatakurwa nendege yeEthiopia. Ndobva yanomusiya munonzi muEthiopia.
His first flight was to Ethiopia in an 8-hour flight for the first time.
Ndobva anotakurwa neEthiopia neimwe yainzi yeThailand. Ndobva yanomusiya muThailand.
He then got into another flight into Thailand.
Jakarta, ndo capital city yeikoko yeIndonesia.
From Thailand, he got into another flight to Jakarta, Indonesia. So my son got into 3 airplanes.
Bamaita say evangelist.
Akabva atosvika mwana. Akasvika musi wa 28 waidiwa. Vakaita 2 days dzavo dzeorientation. Ndobva vazotsakurwa vachiendeswa kumauniversities avo. Ari pane inonzi Paru University.
He had a 2-day orientation and then left for the university where he is
I
at
am
now.
the only black guy from Africa at this university.
Ah!
So they sent a message saying I am the only black man at this university from Africa.
Watch your screen! Watch your screen! Watch your screen! Watch your screen! Ah! Ah!